JB and Bill, and for KO Sports, Damian Barrett's in the studio.
Wrapping up the weekend of footy.
Get Purple in here and discuss footy.
This is Damo's recovery session.
Purple, nice to see you. Always on a Monday.
Hello, Jim, and hello, Bill.
Positives
Hey,
in a sec.
yeah.
We've got a little bit of news.
Just in relation to Jordan de Goey, who's had a troubled off-season. Started the year well, but will now miss round 4 for that tackle that he did on Patrick Dangerfield. They've decided the Pies and in consultation with him to not challenge it. I think it's a wise call to not challenge it because while Dangerfield got up, and often it is related to how much damage is done to the person being tackled, Danger got straight up. But again, the motion was the exact motion the AFL has been trying to stamp out now for a few years. That double motion where the sling
when they get their leg in there and then throw them, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what it was.
He's been good to Goey.
He has
really
been
good.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be a challenge given that Craig McRae's coming off his first loss of the year. We'll touch on that in the negatives, and there wasn't too much negative about that, but the negative was the first loss under his coaching. He's now got to go into a game without his best player, arguably. Also, too, Damien Hardwick made some comments after his team's loss to St Kilda last night. It was in relation to a question about Sydney Stack, as much as where was he, when's he coming back, and we learned through the answer that he had been missing for COVID contact reasons, and he just gave a little drive-by to your man Dan Andrews, Jim, along the way about he'd like the relaxation of the 7 days requirement to isolate on being a close contact. And again, it's caused a bit of a stink today, given the Herald Sun picked it up and ran with it, and then the AFL has just distanced itself ever so slightly from that being reflective of their views on this. And I can see where they're coming from, given that the governments have effectively propped up the game in the 2.5 years of COVID to this point.
Well, and the government's response, I don't know who it was, old mate Foley or whatever, we'll continue to take the advice of the health experts.
Yep.
Just need to find one.
Find one.
Just see if we can stumble across an expert rather than the clowns we've been listening to for 2 years.
What Hardwick said was probably spot on.
It was 100% spot on.
Are you allowed to say anything to that?
I'm of that view too, for what it's worth. Yeah, but I totally get where anyone who's beholden to the way the government operates and with the contracts attached to it, and when I say that, there's stadiums that are attached to the contracts, they've got to abide by the protocols. So, I mean, we all do too. I mean, we've had to sign off on certain things to get into this building even, haven't we? So
we have.
Yeah.
Now, the positives, where are we starting?
Footy is back, Damo.
Yeah, it is back. I reckon it is,
great.
Bill. Yeah, and the Sunday games were great. I mean, we started early, 1:10 and 66,000 people rolled up, which was amazing. We'll get to that in a minute. But to me, the big performance was St Kilda to come back from 25 points down against Richmond and to do it in a way that was convincing. They got onto one of those now regular streaks of goals. Theirs was a 10-goal streak, which is happening a lot in footy, isn't it? Even in losses, teams are getting on 7-8 goal runs without response.
Momentum. Is that because of the 6-6-6? Do you reckon it's finally working, the 6-6-6, where if you can get down to the middle, and that's so important, how they set up, and the teams are winning it out of the middle, and then they're away.
There's a science to the middle structure now, isn't there? Yeah. And it's not just to get the the tap out and then to kick it. That they're trying to get that loose within the confines of the 6-6-6, which I think, to your point, Bill, yes, that's the main reason. It's created this mind shift, I feel, from coaches.
We did. I just need to see it last a bit longer, because remember this time last year we saw a lot of scoring and then suddenly it just started to dry up. So I hope it doesn't. Max King, by the way, couldn't recognise the Sharon in the first half.
No, and then
got nowhere near it, and then won the game.
Emerged the best player on the ground in a who influenced it most perspective. 6 shots at goal in that last 30 minutes. 4 of them were goals.
Unbelievable.
So his last quarter, Damo.
Yep.
4 goals, 1, 7 disposals, 6 marks.
Amazing, wasn't it? And just towering presence, and that's what I'm loving. So if you go back to the round 2 game, he got to half time with effectively the same impact, as in 0. And then there was a 2.5-minute period in that third quarter where he kicked 3 goals of the 4 he kicked in the match. So he's finished the last 2 matches with 4 goals to his name. The goals have come at key times, and the goals have changed the result and the course of the game. So I don't think anyone else has done that to this point. I mean, Cripps maybe in the first 2 weeks, more so than the third. But
Jeremy Cameron.
He did it once. Yeah, I mean, King's done it twice.
No, but what I love is the big forwards. When they fire, like Jeremy Cameron, like Max King, like Curnow and Mackay, Mate, when they're firing, wow,
Yeah.
your side wins.
Brad Crouch, we speak to a little later
Oh,
on
you
in this
do.
show.
He had his best game for the Saints. So, I mean, I think a lot of people have been critical, myself included, but I thought he was really good and well done because
Yes.
they look quicker than they have looked in recent times. So that's great. The Carlton game, again, Hawthorn didn't lose anything, a bit like Collingwood. They didn't lose much in losing the game of footy, but I mean, well done to Carlton. They broke clear with one of those momentum surges early, 7 goals of the first 8 they kicked, and then Hawthorn hit the lead. And I'm loving this trio of forwards because they've all got that old-fashioned footy brain, haven't they? Silvani's the lesser of the three, but Curnow and McKay, they can just create marks and moments out of nothing.
De Koning, they're big man stocks, and of course Wiedering in the back half. They're looking very nice.
Their midfield's a key.
The Blues.
They're outstanding midfield.
And
Bison, what's his name?
Matt Kennedy.
Matt Kennedy. Bison's been outstanding.
Yeah, and you're referencing of Wiedering, a great match-saving mark, and again, yet another good game from a guy who's already been All-Australian.
Magnificent.
The Cats do deserve some love, given they got down to 37 points behind.
What happened there, Fat?
Well, I tell you what, I was watching at Adelaide at the Watermark Hotel, and I'd had a few. I'd sacked 12 of them,
How do you just got your lines
including Joel.
Oh, you
Joel,
got
yep. Joel and 12 of them I'd sacked.
And Jeremy Cameron as well?
No, him and Tomahawk, the only about 2 I saved.
Okay.
The others, I was going to bed.
Including Joel, Jim.
Tom Stewart was pretty handy.
No, couple of mistakes.
one of your greatest ever warriors. You put a line through.
Yep. At
And then?
3/4
And
time. Then I went to get a couple of frothies. I come back and I thought, hang on. It's just how much you can change in 25
Typical
minutes.
nuff supporter.
What about the booing of Joel?
Yeah, but doesn't he? He gets off on it, doesn't he?
I don't know if he gets off on the job. Damien, I don't know about that.
But it's because he's a champion.
Well, I know. The
why
best
Duck
players
used to
always
get
get
booed.
booed. Yeah. But not every, hopefully it's not every week, Damien. What do you think? He just loves it.
Well, it's usually for a reason. He found himself in a skirmish with Ginnivan, didn't he? And that was the source of the booing. I don't think they were booing him till that point in time. And I think it's a badge of honour. He's always treated it that way. I'm not a booer. I don't like people who do boo, but I get it, and you know you're not going to change it.
But we also got to remember. I know with the Adam Good stuff. That went every week.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that path again because no one acknowledges the way that should have been dealt with and addressed publicly at the time it started happening.
Goods, or do we have a negative? Look at
Brisbane
things
Lions,
next?
just for the ability to win by 108 points. It's not often done these days, is it? There could have been 148 points the way they kicked inaccurately, but we'll get to them in a minute. And Western Bulldogs got their first win of the year. They needed to. That's way back on the Thursday game, but they are worthy of mention in positives.
All right, negatives next.
It's the rush hour, Triple M. St Kilda's Brad Crouch to join us after 5. But now for KO, Damian Barrett's in.
We're looking at the other side of the ledger. We've just pumped up a few mobs. What did you?
Where do you
think?
start?
Worries for Port Adelaide, given they're now 0 and 3 and got a couple of tough games to come, beginning with Melbourne on Thursday night. The benefit or the bonus, if you want to use that word, Bill, is that it's a home game for them. But yeah, they lose that. You can just about put the line through them, which some people have already put. From a premiership perspective, I always, as I think you know, Jim, you hear me say it a few times, I wait till round 6 and maybe even round 8 before you start making those types of calls. But they're into that
It's a long way back
danger
from
zone,
0-4.
aren't they? Yeah, there's just there's no vibrancy to them, is there? And that's been their problem.
What's happened to their kids and that? Remember they were the ones that are going to carry them. What's happened to all those good kids?
One was playing Sandful in
Dursmo can't even get a game.
And look, the other two have been going okay, Rosie and Butters, but okay's not quite cutting it for them at the moment, and they've had injury concerns in the last 2 years. And look, you do need to factor in and place on the table that Ali's out, who's their centre-half back All-Australian from last year, and Charlie Dixon too. But ultimately, you know, they're going to have to get by without him for some time because neither is coming back too quickly at all. So it's worrying times.
Yep.
North Melbourne, look, it does get away with it because it's not a big selling club, but the way they're going and the narrow win against the Waffle team of last week, the West Coast Eagle replacements, and then the 108-point loss to Brisbane Lions on the weekend. It's a worrying time because the improvement that they kept telling us was coming. It's not obvious that there's any improvement, let alone. Let alone any joy
80 points
coming
from turnover. I think they had 70 plus turnovers in the game. So that is a horrific amount of both of those. But the 80 points from turnover, Purple, talks to me about the fact that they can't defend the ground. So as soon as the footy's turned over, they get scored against.
Yeah.
So what's happening behind the ball? I haven't seen them live yet. So I'll look forward to doing that at some stage. But when you turn the ball over as often as you are and then get scored against as easy as you are from turnover, it means behind the footy, something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, when you lose and choose to not keep as much as lose, Robbie Tarrant, you're exposed, aren't you, in that space? And yeah, whatever game style they're playing is they haven't got
Sydney
the cattle
this week
to do it.
in Sydney,
That's
so
the worry.
that's going to be another. The other one's Gold Coast for me. I did that game Saturday afternoon, Purple. That to me is a typical Gold Coast. You know, they lost by 5 goals, 4.5 goals.
Yep.
But you drive away and you think, what do they stand for, this mob? Like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Without Ben King, as Rab said off air, that's about their only real watchable player, and he's out at the moment.
Yeah.
You just think, well, where's the sizzle? Where's the the must watch? They just look like they go through the motions.
At some stage, they've got to win that type of game, and they just don't. They keep talk themselves up, and they get defensive when people query them not winning these types of games. But when you say they didn't win it, they didn't win it by a very long way. The margin arguably flattered the way that game. I mean, you called it.
They kicked the last 4 goals. They were 50 points down with like 10 minutes to go.
Typical junk time sort of goals.
That's it.
Richmond's, again, in that boat with Port Adelaide, in that I'm not going to write them off just yet, Bill, but at 1 and 2, and the manner in which the loss to St Kilda unfolded yesterday was the worry, because they got to 25 points clear and then just didn't fire a shot after that. And the only goal they kicked after that was literally the junk time goal at the very end. So,
and we all thought they were going to be the side to go into the 8.
Yeah.
I think everyone thought that.
Again, like Port Adelaide, there's reasons. Grimes went down during the game. They didn't have Revolt. Presti is out. And obviously the biggest problem they've got from the availability perspective is Dustin Martin's absence. And there's still no known time frame upon a possible return there.
That's the big one. Just back to the Giants and the Suns. Was there only 4,000 people there?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's counting a few extras.
You reckon?
Well, we were looking at it. I'm like, I can't see 4,000 people here.
That's
In
a
fact,
low
it reminded
crowd.
me of who used to turn up to Shield games. It was like that.
Wow.
And they weren't as entertained either.
No, especially
I
if you
used
were
to provide them with.
But that's a worry. That's got to be some sort of a worry. They're the 2 newest teams.
Yeah,
Damo.
it is. It is. They've never drawn. Those 2 teams have just never drawn in the clash that you'd think. Yeah, I know.
West Coast purple?
50th.
Yeah, West Coast is their season's already got away from, hasn't it? And it's not of their doing, but there's still some good talent running around.
Oh, yeah.
But what you don't know, and you're not going to ask questions because it is private medical health issues. If the players have been missing for COVID itself, not just being a COVID contact, you don't know what effect that has had until you're playing a game of footy. So I'm going to cut them a fair bit of slack to this point.
A lot of it is not their fault.
Yeah.
But they're in a very precarious position now.
Very much so. I mean, the season's done, isn't it? I mean, Adam Simpson, differently to what he's been doing the past 2 years, he's talking it up. We don't want your sympathy. We're going to still try and work through this. But when you start a season knowing that you're not a chance to do anything of meaning, it's hard season to get through. I mean, it's for different reasons. It's like that Essendon missing the 34. They're never ever going to, or 26, whatever players it was that particular year. That they're never ever going to have a season that resulted in a finals outcome, and that's the way it's shaping up for West Coast. Hawthorn just needs a quick mention in that negatives, Jim. They're dealing with the revelations through the age on the weekend from Cyril Rioli. Now, we've known about these.
This is a story you broke 4 years ago.
On the footy show we did.
Yes.
We did. But I suppose Cyril speaking about it is the reason it's back in the news. And I just wanted to flag it because the club's known about this since that period. I mean, they were dealing with it before it was public that Cyril was going to retire. Yeah. So I do hope that when they do say something of meaning publicly, that we do get an insight into what they've done since 2018 and not just responding to the public now being in on the full sort of story and other layers to the situation that Cyril found himself in. I'm keen to see it. I'm keen to see Jeff, at least say something about what he did say to Shannon Rioli in the Launceston Airport Lounge back in 2018.
So he retired at 28, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he could have played for another 3 or 4 years. That's a shame of it.
Well, still had the 2 years remaining on the contract, and he would have got longer than that. He'd still be there now, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Remember you had him in?
Oh, yeah.
He was
you
great.
called him Cecil.
Yeah, Cecil.
You did. Ceciled him. Yeah.
Cecil.
So if that flattened him out a bit, he's only
he
won
retired about a month later,
4 premierships and was a superstar, and you Ceciled him. You branded him Cecil.
Cecil.
Yes, he did. You walked in.
Yeah.
And he looked at you.
I don't know.
He looked at me like,
He's a ripper. Hey, buses.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Here it is. The engine's battling on our bus. It's an old crate. Where is it going, Purple?
Just setting a small one, just a small one at the Tullamarine. Just need to see if they're going to fire a shot at some stage of the early parts of this season.
Right.
The Essendon.
They got Adelaide
Bombers.
in Melbourne, so you'd think they'll start favourites in that.
Well,
wouldn't
they need to. Well, they'll start favourites, but they need
Yep.
to add the, as Jack Ginnivan calls it, the dub to open their accounts.
Right,
What's the dub?
The
So that's
W,
it?
The W.
Oh, George W. Bush.
Any other buses?
Different W.
Well, we're just holding off on sending one across west toward Adelaide, Alberton. We're just holding off on that one,
Right,
Jim.
okay.
Yeah. Are you thinking I should send one somewhere
Well,
else? Jim?
No,
if
sounds
there
loaded.
wasn't such a ridiculous lack of parking at Arden Street, you could send one there.
Well,
They already can't park anywhere around the joint. But
Yeah.
they do need to get better than that.
Absolutely
You
they
can't be beaten by 100 points. That's red lights flashing, and the twos also lost by 100
that's the
points.
worry.
They did.
And it wasn't just David Noble who complained about what happened in the seniors. It was Heath Uni in the practice matches a week before the season started.
No, that's a worry when that's happening. So
Kim's
they need
not
to
happy,
straighten a
Dave.
few things up there. All right, Purple, good to see you. Always on a Monday.
Monday.
Damo's recovery session.
Next, your chance to win a slab of goat beers. We head to the phones. It's the Rush Hour, Triple M.